Hey, this is Eli. I wanted to quickly record this message before this episode of In a Galaxy, encouraging everyone of our listeners who lives in the United States to vote in this election. This year, it's a very important election, not just on the presidential level, but on other down ballot races. I'll put a few links in the description. So if you want to find information on how to vote and what these candidates stand for, you can. I also put some stuff out on my own personal pages to help people. But yeah, please vote and enjoy this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy.
Hello there.
Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And this is episode 152 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. I have to mention that because Jacob and I are positively giddy right now, I think. We reached the end of our second Star Wars animated show. We have done it.
We did it.
Star Wars The Bad Batch. Today we are going to be reviewing the episodes The Cavalry Has Arrived and wait, Jacob. What the fuck? Where are the other episodes for this? We did 3 episodes.
Well, it's like 2 episodes rolled into one, Eli. It's a mega episode.
Okay, what is it, like 40 minutes, over 40 minutes? Unless it's over 40 minutes.
40, I'm not it's like 45. It's like 45.
Episodes could do that? Anyway.
They did it here, and god damn it, it was beautiful.
Yeah, so we're just doing today, The Cavalry Has Arrived, as Wrecker will enthusiastically chant at the beginning of the Bad Batch episode of the Clone Wars, which is a damn confusing thing to say. But Jacob, I was wondering if you would like to do the honors of summarizing this action jam-packed finale of not just a season, but of a series.
Oh my gosh, I will try my best, but I didn't write one for this, and there is so much that happens. This was genuine. There were like 8 times where I was like, this can't get any crazier. And then, it got crazier, needless to say. But I mean, oh my gosh.
As always, by the way, our disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. And I believe this is going to be true for our next half season as well.
Yeah, this is my first time.
This is Jacob's first time watching Bad Batch Season 3. And I believe, Jacob, it will be your first time watching Tales of the Empire, which is our next thing we're doing after that, right?
Yes, I think Tales of the Empire is next. I have not seen that yet. But that will be.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of recent Star Wars stuff, but that's not going to be. It's not going to be. Yeah. We're not going to be doing Acolyte anytime soon.
Yeah, one day.
No hate to that show. I fucking love that show, and I hate that it was canceled. But it's just anyway.
R.I.P.
Jacob, go ahead. Tell us what happened to this episode.
So I'll do my best to paint the broad strokes because this is jam-packed. So we open pretty much exactly where we left off at the end of episode 14. Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair are in the jungle of Tantus. Crosshair is badly injured, and they are trying to regroup.
Not Crosshair.
Sorry, not Crosshair. God,
Wrecker is injured.
Wrecker is injured. Wrecker is badly injured. They're wounded. They are down. They're scrounged around on the jungle floor, trying to make it out. Cut back to Tantus base, and we have Hemlock, cool, calm as ever, going to talk to his new prisoner, Admiral, or I guess ex-Admiral Rampart. We catch up with Hemlock and Rampart, and then we go to Echo and Emerie, who are in the control room or the lab, I believe, and they are trying to figure out how to get to the vault, how to break out Omega and the rest of the kids. Meanwhile, though, Omega, not to be outdone, is kicking up her own escape plan. They managed to take down and reprogram the sort of the floating nanny enforcer science droid that's always kind of skulking around. And when the other doctor comes down to see what the kids are up to, the droid actually injects the doctor, makes her go to sleep, and all the kids, Omega and the 3 other kids and the little baby, they escape into the tubes, the tunnels, the vents in the bowels of Tantus base. Meanwhile, Echo and Emerie are making their way into the vault. However, Omega decides to has planned on unleashing the Zillo Beast as their distraction. So right as some TK troopers zero in on them and expose where the kids are in the vent system, out pops the Zillo Beast, and destruction and chaos ensue. The Zillo Beast ends up punching its way out of the base entirely. Sorry. Something caught my throat. The Zillo Beast punches its way out of the base entirely. Meanwhile, we have Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker who are still trying to make their way in. Crosshair offers to go into the base on his own to try and infiltrate it, effectively sacrificing himself. But the other 2 tell him, "No, we're sticking together, and we're doing it as one." They make their way into the base, trying to exploit the new entrance, the giant hole in the wall that the Zillo Beast left in the side of Tantus base. However, Hemlock has one more surprise, and he boots up 4 new, what are we calling them? These, the reprogrammed kind of assassin clones.
I guess we should call them shadow clones, because using letters is getting too ridiculous by this point.
He refers to them as operatives, or as they're operatives or shadow. We call them shadow clones. So we got 4 new shadow clones on the way as well. And as Hunter, Omega, as Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker make their way into the base, they are ambushed by a whole bunch of TK troopers and the shadow clones, and they are taken into custody.
But not before one of the shadow clones cuts off Crosshair's right hand.
Yes, Crosshair loses a hand. Rest in peace, Crosshair's right hand.
Crosshair, Skywalker.
Yeah. And of course he says, "You should be more careful with your shooting hand." Which that's just cruel at that point. Dude, come on.
Didn't want to forget about that. It was the full emotional closing of an arc.
Yeah.
We got that.
So Omega and the kids, meanwhile, their escape is still going pretty well. They're still creeping around. However, Emerie and Echo are still kind of they're in disguise. They're incognito. Echo has the TK trooper armor, so they're moving around freely within the facility when they see Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair getting carted by. So they realize what's happened. They realize that 3 of the batch have been are being imprisoned by Hemlock. However, Crosshair, jeez Louise, the names. My gosh, I'm bungling it today. I'm sorry, y'all. Echo and Emerie manage to meet up with the kids and find a shuttle, and Echo sends Emerie and the children with a location on the shuttle to fly away to safely, presumably to Pabu.
It's Pabu.
Yeah, we
see all of them.
Yeah, we see at the end. Yeah, it's Pabu. They send them to Pabu, and then Wow, geez Louise.
Echo
and Omega head back into the base, where meanwhile Hemlock is reprogramming the 3 other Bad Batch clones. He's put them into these giant machines, and he's saying, "You guys will make fine operatives." So his plan is to turn them into shadow clones. Meanwhile, Echo and Omega make their way into the prison barracks, and they get a bunch of blasters, and they free all of the other clones, along with Nala Se and Rampart. Rampart says, "Everybody, we should just leave. We shouldn't try to fight the Empire. They're too strong." However, Echo says, "No, we're clones. We're going to stand together, and we're to free our brothers." So all the clones go with Echo and Omega, and Nala Se says, "I can't let the Empire hold on to my science and my research. It's too important. I have to destroy it." So they separate, and she goes to go destroy her research. Meanwhile, Hemlock gets a call from Tarkin saying, I'm hearing rumors of some crazy shenanigans happening on Wayland. Is everything okay, dude?
So happy. I'm so excited. I'm so distressed. So distressed to hear that.
So, we've got good old Tarkin just, preying on Hemlock's downfall. as usual, and we end up with Omega and Echo. Or no, first of all, we end up with Nala Se finding herself a thermal detonator and heading into her lab to destroy her research. However, before she can destroy all the vials and the vats and whatnot, in comes Rampart, holding her at gunpoint, saying, "I want to know what this research is about." So he reads the little dossier on it, the little file on the computer, and he says,
and listen to all the great things it revealed to us.
Yeah.
But wait,
absolutely nothing. Project Necromancer.
Anything to do with us?
Yeah.
What the fuck is the whole point of this anyway?
I know. Project Necromancer. Well, we already knew the name. Yeah. Even Rampart knows what it actually is, and we don't.
We will get to this. It's one of my main critiques with the episode, but we'll get.
And we can pretty much fill in the gaps at this point. Like we know what it's about, but it's more strongly hinted at several different.
But just come on, tell us already. Like,
just tell us. I know. I feel the same way. I do feel the same way. So he holds her at gunpoint and he says, "Oh, I'm actually going to take this data. I'm going to download this data. I'm going to take it, and then the Empire is going to have to give me amnesty or a bunch of money or something. He's going to use it as a bargaining chip to get back on the Empire's good side." He says, if this data is as valuable and as important, if this research is as important as you say it is, there is no way the Empire is going to let me walk away with it. They're going to bargain with me for it. To which Nala Se says, "This science will always be Kaminoan." To which Rampart says, "Hey, Nala Se, talk to the blaster." To which Nala, he doesn't actually say that, but you might.
To which Nala Se says, hey, Rampart, talk to the grenade."
Yeah, and then the grenade goes off. Rest in peace, R.I.P. Bozo. Good riddance to Rampart. R.I.P. Nala Se. R.I.P. the science lab. And this is all happening concurrently with what's happening in the training room, which is where all the clones make their way in, and they start fighting on the lower level, some of the operatives as a distraction. Meanwhile, Omega sneaks into the actual platform where Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker are being held, and she almost gets Wrecker free from the sort of pod that he is in before the TK. No, sorry, not the TK trooper. The shadow clone, we're calling it. The shadow operative clone notices her and apprehends her. At which point, of course, Hemlock pops out and says, "You clones, you're so predictable. Your loyalty to each other is your weakness." And it's revealed that this was all a setup. Hemlock releases the poison gas into the lower level, incapacitating a whole bunch of the clones, and Echo and the rest of the clones they pretty much got their backs against the wall, and they're pretty much defeated. They're pretty much defeated by the shadow operative clones. However, just then, one of the clone commandos who works for Rampart runs in and says, "There's been an explosion in the lab. Everything's been destroyed." And Rampart, or Omega, who was being told by Rampart, "You failed. It's over for you," says, "Well, I'm not the only one who's failed."
By Hemlock. She was told by Hemlock.
Sorry, by Hemlock. Sorry if I said Rampart. All these villains, they're all the same. They're not really all the same, but sometimes their names, they get confusing when you say them a lot. So just at this moment, Wrecker, who was half imprisoned, Omega had sort of gotten him out of the binds and everything. He wakes up and he goes absolutely berserk on the TK troopers, Rampart, the shadow clones, whoever. And another big fight breaks out with Hemlock, and Hemlock ends up handcuffing himself to Omega, saying, "I'm getting out of here." He's accompanied by one clone commando. He leaves. So now Crosshair and Hunter are back in the fight. They've managed to wake up and free themselves. So they go after Omega, while Wrecker and Echo stay behind. Wrecker and Echo stay behind to finish the fight, save the other clones, and finish the fight with the Shadow clones. So, sorry, I'm blanking on the name. Hemlock makes his way out to this long, skinny sky bridge out on the top of Mount Tantus, and it's thunderstorming now, so it's very, very slippery and very dramatic. One wrong move and you slip and fall over the edge. He's making his way out. He wants to get picked up, get off world, get Omega to a secure location. However, Hunter and Crosshair follow him out onto the bridge and shoot down the ship that was coming to get him. They shoot out its engines and it falls to the ground and explodes. They also shoot the other clone commando off of the bridge. So now it's a standoff.
That's Scorch.
That is Scorch. Okay, there we go.
That is Scorch. And by the way, fuck Scorch. I don't care about all of you like Delta Squad fans. I don't care. Public Commando fans. Fuck Scorch.
Yeah, the Delta Squad, all the commandos, they get done a little dirty in this story. They don't have the opportunity to do a lot of good in the Bad Batch. Let's just say, unfortunately for them. So we have a standoff. It's Crosshair, and it's Hunter. And at the other end of this long, skinny sky bridge, it's Omega handcuffed to Hemlock, who's holding her at gunpoint. Hemlock saying, "Drop the gun. You know, if I go over, you go over. You know, you'll have to walk away." However, they wait and they wait and they wait, and then Omega makes her move. She elbows Hemlock, managing to kind of separate her body from his, making them two separate targets. And then right at that moment, boom, Crosshair and Hunter, they take the shots. They take their shots. They shoot out they destroy the cufflinks, the binders, binding the two of them together, and down goes Hemlock, never to be seen again. R.I.P. Bozo, will not be missed. Following that, they take a shuttle back to Pabu. All of them. They meet up with Echo and Wrecker and the remaining clones, and they all ride off into the sunset back to Pabu. Meanwhile, the story of Tantus Base comes to an unceremonious end, with Grand Moff Tarkin arriving, seeing that the facility is pretty heavily destroyed, and saying, "All right, shutter this facility indefinitely. Reroute all funds to Project Stardust." Back on Pabu, we see that Emerie has also joined the. We get a brief conversation between Echo and Emerie, where Emerie says, I believe that she and some of the other clones are going to. Echo and some of the other clones are going to Pantora to help Senator Chuchi fight for the well-being of the clones. Emerie decides to go with them, saying that there is more good that she can do. Meanwhile, the main four stay back on Pabu, and we fade to black. The epilogue.
We gotta have an epilogue.
We gotta have an epilogue. This is the final moment, the final series. We had one in the Clone Wars. We had one in Rebels. They were beautiful. They were memorable. We gotta have an epilogue here, and it's just as amazing.
And of course, with an epilogue comes an incredibly unclear timeline.
Incredibly unclear timeline.
When this happens,
definitely not. Yeah.
The short answer is we don't know. I have some ideas.
Yeah, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the timeline, but yeah, suffice it to say, we really don't know what the timeline of this is. However, what we do know is that it's a clear moonlit night on Pabu. We see a much older, almost grown-up version of Omega walking into the old cave from a couple of episodes prior. She turns on the lights around her ship, and we see
the ship, the Marauder.
And here we have Hunter, a much, an older, beardier, headbandier, longer hairer, more chill, relaxed, peacetime version of Hunter, who says, "You didn't think I'd let you go that quickly, would you?" And we find out that Omega is going to be a pilot for the rebellion. And she says, "Hunter, I want you to stay here with Crosshair and Wrecker, and I want you guys to stay in peace. This is my fight. This is not your fight." And he says, "It's going to be difficult for us, but we'll always be here for you if you need us." And with that, Omega flies off in her ship, and we see Hunter We see Hunter looking after her, standing
And
next
Batcher.
to a much larger Batcher. Yes, a much larger Batcher. And that, with one last beautiful moonlit shot of Pabu, the Bad Batch comes to a close.
I
Eli,
want to read you some of my original thoughts. I remember specifically there was a group chat we're in with a lot of other Star Wars creators, and we were having a talk, I remember at the time, about the ending of the show. And I remember I posted my raw reactions. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I apparently couldn't wait that morning, actually. I'm looking at the timestamps. Apparently, I finished watching this Bad Batch episode at like 4:45 in the morning. I couldn't fucking wait.
That means you woke up before 4. You woke up before 4 to watch this.
The finale, yeah, I can believe that. I can believe
that's commendable.
That I would have done
and
that.
Looking back on this episode, probably worth it. Probably worth it.
Again, it wasn't intentional, but yeah, this is what I texted our friends. Just finished Batch. Wow. Holy shit. Wow. On a scale of nightmare to daydream, that finale was extremely daydreamy. I'm shocked it ended that well. Happy and relieved, but still shocked. There were certain things I wish had been wrapped up a little more smoothly. Mostly, I think Corbett and the crew did everything that they needed to. My most important wish was indeed satisfied. She's okay. And my core opinions, I will just say, have not changed. While I think there could have been some more things done for this episode, for it to wrap up with a few more answers, I think that this finale is a fantastic episode, and I think it earns every minute. Frankly, when my complaint is that something needs to be longer, I think that's a good complaint to have.
It generally is.
But yeah, it's extra impressive because we start out with, in this episode, as if you want to jump right into it, situation's bad.
Yeah,
is really bad.
I mean, we get to multiple points within this episode where I'm just going, holy crap, there's no way. Like, how are any of them going to make it out of this? And like, I really like what they did with this episode, because going into this, my thought was, kind of as you hinted at, like, I am very much of the opinion for this finale and for this season of the show. I think you don't necessarily need to have someone major die. You don't necessarily need to have that kind of loss to make something, to make a piece of media, to make an episode, to make a finale that is super impactful and memorable and hard hitting, and I think that this episode is a perfect example of why that's the case. That's what I would say about it.
There are a lot of interesting things about this finale. I think that, ironically, actually killing no one was the gutsy move to make.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In this situation, because you were setting it up to be such a death trap, making it so everybody gets out alive is honestly more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was not expecting Crosshair to make it out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought that, after that kind of speech that he gives, that we'll get to, because it's freaking amazing. Like, there was a definite moment where I thought, oh man, Crosshair is done for.
Crosshair was a target for story reasons, and Wrecker was a target for plot reasons.
Yeah, it was either going to be one of those two. I didn't think it was going to be Hunter, but yeah, I definitely kind of thought.
And I never really thought Omega was in danger, but I was scared.
Yeah. But I mean, like you said, the show really this season, they really earned having a finale where everybody makes it out, and everybody kind of gets to ride off into the sunset. Even Emerie, and I guess you could say Nala Se is a one loss, but I mean, as much as there's moments when we kind of get something from her, and we see her as a bit of a sympathetic figure, now and then, she's very mixed in that result.
Noble sacrifice which starts to make up for all the shit she did in the Clone Wars. But that doesn't make her good necessarily.
Yeah, and as much as this episode really kind of, more than anything else we've seen before, this episode makes her, more of a figure that I, felt sympathetic about and thought like, wow, finally, like she's finally actually, sort of taking a stand or really acting on her principles, in this moment, rather than just acting on, sort of personal notions, rather than acting on political expediency or just kind of personal, thoughts and feelings and wants and needs. And that was beautiful to see. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. I think I love that the batch made it out. I love that, ever since the death of Tech, it kind of feels like there's just been this cloud sort of, hanging over the batch, like sort of this looming feeling, especially towards the end of this season, this looming feeling of who's next, which one of the older clones. I never thought it was going to be Omega. Who's going to go next, but it felt really, really earned. It felt really earned that everyone stayed alive and got to have a happy ending.
Yeah, and Echo as well, and Echo and Emerie, all of them. None of the kids die, like they could have done that. One of the things because here's the thing, my biggest thing with the Bad Batch, and I remember expressing this on an episode of the Nerd Academy, Knights of the Nerd Republic, with our friends of the show, Jared and Connor and Casey. I remember expressing this, which is like, I was interested in how the show was going to end, because in my view, you couldn't have that big of a victory at the end of the show. Because why the hell wouldn't we have heard about this major victory happening like a year and a half into the Empire's reign? We're led to believe that like the first big victories against the Empire, the first major quote unquote is supposed to be Scarif, but that's like a first major military victory. But I would argue like the first major like actual victories are supposed to be in 10 BBY, with the successful theft of coaxium from Imperial Pike co-maintained facilities by Han and the gang.
Yeah.
And then the second one is the successful rescue of Princess Leia Organa from Imperial prison by Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Hidden Path in the show. But nothing up till then had really done something. What I like about this is Tantus is so fucking secret, most people in the galaxy probably don't know it exists.
Yeah.
The Empire would have no reason to tell anybody about what happened. In fact, they probably want to keep this as secret as possible.
Yeah. And you can...
Everybody who's there, again, wants to keep a low profile, whether they're on the light or the dark side. So it's actually extremely plausible why we haven't heard of this, because why would we have?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as far as, talking about military defeats go, on the one, like, you can frame it as like, yes, absolutely, this is a big defeat for the Empire. Like, this is one of the first examples of, holy shit, some people got together, they scraped together what resources, what personnel, what wherewithal they could have, and they went up against overwhelming odds, and they punched the Empire in the mouth. And that's all true. But kind of like Tarkin says, even though Tarkin is criticizing Tantus and criticizing Hemlock's whole project, Necromancer, even though he's doing that entirely for his own kind of selfish reasons, because we know the kind of guy he is not wrong. Like, this is benefiting solely the Emperor.
Yes.
Like, as in terms of the Empire as a collective group and its ability to dominate the galaxy, it's probably a good thing that the Bad Batch came in and
that is
top off this mountain,
That is the big thing. That is the big thing about this episode. I'm so glad you mentioned this. This episode was not a big defeat for the Empire. This episode was a big defeat for the Emperor.
Yeah.
And only the Emperor.
Absolutely.
Maybe you could put Hemlock in there with him too, but really this was not a Rebels versus Imperials victory. This was a Rebels versus Emperor victory. In the same way that A World Between Worlds episode of Rebels is a victory over the Emperor.
Yeah. Because
nobody else in the Empire was really focused on using the War Between Worlds. That was a specific. Minister Hayden was looking at that shit specifically because Palpatine wanted to utilize it to change the fabric of the universe. Yeah. So that was a personal defeat for him, as much as this is, and really as much as this is, because as we see, there's still a lot of questions, and I kind of wish there were a few more answers in this episode. But whatever.
Yeah.
As we see, as we can now figure out pretty safely, the clones that Palpatine used on Exegol were not Kaminoan in origin.
Yeah. That's funny because,
and that's because of this episode.
Yeah. And that's also, such a sort of poetic, such a poetic sort of rhyming moment of, the Empire's own evil coming back to bite them in the asses. Oh man, oh no, all your Kaminoan research, your Kaminoan technology, your Kaminoan scientists, they all went up in flames. Oh, I guess you'll just have to go back to Kamino and find some more people and get some more gear. And oh wait, you destroyed Kamino with a base Delta Zero orbital bombardment. You committed a genocide against an entire. You committed herbicide. You sank an entire Kaminoan city, presumably with millions of people. Like, oh no, oh man, you really should have thought that one through. Dang,
and
this whole genocidal dictatorship stuff is pretty complicated, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty hard. Oh man, poor Palpatine.
Or Palpatine. Yeah. The thing I really appreciate that the rig I really appreciate, and I think I remember at the time I was talking, I believe this was either it was with Jared or other friend of the show, Alden Diaz, I was talking with this about, which was like the idea that the Batch have a bigger impact on the galaxy than even they realize. Like, they don't know it, but like that 30-year time jump between, or 29 years, let's say, that 29-year time jump between the Battle of Jakku and the firing of Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
You can thank the Bad Batch for that, basically.
Yeah.
That 29 years, you can thank the Bad Batch for that. Because it took that long for Palpatine. I mean, well, presumably, we don't exactly know when Palpatine figured out cloning without the Kaminoans. But, my point with the whole figuring out cloning without the Kaminoans is, of course, he did still figure it out, but a key point is that those clones sucked.
Yeah, they were crummy.
They there are multiple mentions in the Rise of Skywalker novelization as well as other sources that those clones just sucked. They were doing the bare minimum until Palpatine sapped the dyad life out of Rey and Kylo.
I mean, we kind of saw that, like, he was like barely, because that not. So in the Rise of Skywalker, the original Palpatine body that we see, that is a clone, correct? I just want to make sure I'm getting this right.
So Palpatine's physical body, first physical form, was of course destroyed on the second Death Star when he died.
So he's in a so he's in a clone. Yeah, that clone sucks. He's got like the fingers are all rotted, like his eyes are like glassy.
He's fucking artist. Only when he literally summons an unseen for generations power does he get anywhere close to a good body.
Yep.
And that is because the Bad Batch stopped him from getting high quality with these with the Kaminoan cloners. That's how much of a big impact these fucking four random mass or 5 random ass clone troopers have.
Yeah, they did, and that's beautiful. They didn't even know. They just wanted to get Omega back, and really that's Nala Se when you really think about it, because they're thinking, okay, let's go get Omega, and then Nala Se says, wait, you guys, I can't come with you. I have to go make this right, and make sure that the Empire can't continue this work. And she ends up sacrificing her life to do it. Yeah. So I do think that as much as Nala Se, as much as she kind of is our bugbear over and over in the Clone Wars, and maybe early on in this show. I do think we need to give her as a character some props for that, and kind of appreciate how, that's Star Wars, right? That the power of one individual choice.
Yeah. I give her
one more or less
about the same props as I'm going to give Hux.
I give her a little more than Hux, I think.
Maybe a little bit more than Hux, but like
because she actually did it based on Hux. Hux was just being petty. It was just,
and it happened to help out the resistance. Yeah,
she could have acted in self-preservation and just booked it for the nearest shuttle. Instead, she said, "I'm going to go back into this nightmare, and I'm going to destroy my work." Not so that, like, I'm not going to keep it so I can continue it. I have nothing to gain from it, but I can't let the Empire keep doing this. And so for that reason, I do think that's an example of kind of the power of an individual choice, when motivated by a little bit of selflessness, to have, massive, far-reaching impacts for the better. I mean, that's what Star Wars is all about. And that's kind of like, the Bad Batch is really kind of in this episode more than any others. It taps into that in many ways. And that's how we kind of see that it arrives as a show when it gets to that point when you're like, this is what Star Wars is all about, and this is now one of the prime examples of that.
Yeah. But let's dive into deeper with the episode, just because I do want to get some details out there. Because
100%.
And not that talking big picture is bad in any way. I loved it, but there are details dropping in the beginning. There's that first meeting with Hemlock and Rampart. The two main villains of this show meeting.
That's such a cool moment.
And we have that line I have here, which is what Hemlock says: "I am working on something so valuable to the Empire, it makes me indispensable, unlike yourself." And that line specifically for Hemlock is very different, defines the entire episode for me. It is Hemlock's ultimate flaw, is that he thinks he's figured out, and look, he's smarter than the average Imperial. I will give him that. He is smarter than the average Imperial. Definitely more than Rampart. But Rampart, by circumstance, has figured out something before he got to, which is, of course, the fact that nobody is indispensable in the Empire except for its head.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exact same thing. There is a lot that Rampart doesn't know, but Hemlock is also wrong about one thing, and that you said it. No one's indispensable, but the Empire. That's how this system works.
And it's almost actually, I feel at the end, it's almost like Rampart. It's almost like Hemlock kind of figures that out with him taking Omega.
God, there's no more special forces flying in to save me.
No science, no nothing.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I'm out here on my own, and I'm totally outmatched. Is what he's got.
And you can see all of his much of his confidence vanish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll get to that, but this is kind of it's interesting, this episode, because not even here yet, but you can see Rampart's facade kind of crumble throughout this episode. But just to keep it on this little meeting between Rampart and Hemlock, because it is really interesting. It's striking to me, and it's sort of a symbol, a little symbolic moment of kind of how far the show has come. Where season 1, even in season 2 until is it the Clone Conspiracy?
Yeah.
When he gets season 2 until the Clone Conspiracy, he really, season 1, Rampart is the big bad guy. He is this, he is this really kind of threatening, albeit a little bit stupid figure, and then fast forward to the end of season 3, he's kind of just he's he's kind of washed up, he's kind of just there, and we've unlocked this whole other level of how deep the crazy fuckery that the Empire is doing, how deep it goes. We've really unlocked something else, which I really I appreciated it as sort of a little moment to step back. And there's a lot of those in this episode in particular, it being the finale, where you can kind of step back and go, damn, we really got from there to here in 3 seasons. That's hats off to the show, hats off to the writers, the directors, the showrunners,
Absolutely.
Brad Rao and I'm blanking on the head writer's name, and
Jen Corbett,
but yeah, everyone, two thumbs up, hats off.
And Matt McNevitz and Amanda Rose Munoz and Damani Johnson and Ezra Knox.
Yeah.
Everybody who when we say, I'm often like, I think this is the trap we too often fall into. And this one is going to be a little weird because of this episode, which was written by head writer Jennifer Corbett. She is the one credited for writing this episode. But often, like, I say, like, Corbett or Dave Filoni is another big one in animation as a shorthand for Dave and or Corbett and all of the other writers that were there to see their vision out. Yeah. It's very easy to just talk about, to keep that one name in your head, to just talk about the head writer and the supervising director as it is, which is Brad Rao for this series. But I really do mean, like, I'm like there were some great like I thought specifically I know Amanda Rose Munoz, not only for Bad Batch but for Tales of the Empire, which we'll get to very soon, wrote some bangers. And I'm not trying to. I am when I say Dave or when I say Jennifer Corbett, I'm not trying to erase these people. And it's just like it's tricky.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, at the end of the day, for everything that we give this show credit for, there's more people. Obviously, there's more people responsible for all these things that we could, easily name out. We would be sat here for a long time, reading down the credit list of every episode, saying, these animators, these art directors made this great. These sound effects were great. This moment was great. So yeah, suffice it to say, it takes a village. It takes an army to make a show like this.
It's just such an impressive. Like, I really feel like this is such an impressive end to the show.
Oh, and absolutely, it's monumental. It's monumental.
Yeah. Speaking of like just some impressive stuff, I want to actually talk to you about. The like to me one of the elephants in the room of this episode, even though she may not seem like the elephant in the room in this episode. I want to talk about Emerie.
I was just going to say, she does the right thing. She makes that decision, and that's another example. She steps up.
No intrigue. No will she won't. No. She does the right thing. She's what Nala say should have been.
Yeah, I mean, she immediately. I mean, it's been brewing with Emerie. It's been brewing for quite some time. But
she's been working in the lab. I'm not talking about like in the science division, but in the lab, she's been working there for what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and already she and instantly she's like, I cannot do this. Nala Say has been working there for over a year, and it takes her that long to be like.
Yeah, she's like, well, I don't care,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she doesn't like it, but it's still like, I love Emerie's commitment to that. And then we have when I want to spend quite a bit of time talking about this escape plan, because
which one, Omega's?
Omega's escape.
Oh my gosh, the audacity of these kids! Are you kidding me?
Let me be absolutely clear.
No.
If Omega and the kids had stayed put, I do believe they would have gotten out of the vault. I do believe they would have been rescued. I think they probably would have been fine even. But the reason this episode went as swimmingly as it did, comparatively speaking, for the batch, is because of what Omega did. The reason that there was no death in this episode, I really do believe, on the good guys' side, except for again, Nala Say, which, can we make that disambiguation? But the reason I truly believe, is because Omega did what she did. It's because Omega made, as I was talking about in the last episode, another Bad Batch within the vault. Did you notice they were doing they were nodding to each other, face the she's using all the old playbook.
It was great, yeah. She
is preparing the new generation Bad Batch, and it's did any of these kids want to be operating these military style plans? No, of course they didn't. But neither did any of the Batch, but they had no choice. As did the kids. They had no choice but to stand up for themselves. They had no choice but to fight. And I think I think that's just so, it's so moving to see that, and especially like the extremely liberal amount of time that Omega's theme is pumped into this episode feels really friggin' deserved.
Yes,
just like
100%.
Seeing those kids like running up the stairs, dun 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 dun, like just blasting at full volume. I'm like, yeah, she has reached the pinnacle. She has become like other than physical age, you cannot convince me there's a lot that's different between main episode Omega and epilogue Omega. Like,
I mean, her voice definitely doesn't get deeper. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but seriously, like in personality and like who she is, like as a core, like, and I will say there is one important thing she got, which is she got a civilian lifestyle. She got the peace that she and the Batch had been so pleading for, but in her core values, like she and her instincts and all that kind of stuff, like she's grown into the woman that she needs to be.
And just the fact that she could make that choice for herself, rather than it kind of being like foisted upon her is beautiful. It's a beautiful moment.
It's beautiful. And instantly as like, a lot of people of course had the idea beforehand for the Zillo Beast, quote unquote Deus Ex Machina, because it wasn't out of the machine, like it wasn't out of nowhere. But that was a pretty like, a lot of people predicted that. I'm not saying like, oh, predictable or anything like that. I'm just saying that went about as a lot of people, including myself, thought it would. What I do appreciate, and I remember talking with a few friends about this. This is very funny, which is that, like, it's still vibing there, right?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
I said, it's still vibing there, right?
Yeah.
Like the Zillo Beast honestly got the best deal of anybody in this episode. Wreck some shit, beat up the people who imprisoned you for, who knows how long. And then they get to like hole up at the end of the episode. Bitch, this is my planet now.
Yeah.
I got the entire planet to myself. Nobody's coming back here because
that's a good point now. Like the Zillo Beast is just roaming around on Wayland now.
Just vibing.
We have no idea. We have no idea what happened with the Zillo Beast, bro. Crazy. But no, you're absolutely right. I didn't think that it
I love that we begin the series asking the question, what happened to the Zillo Beast from the Clone Wars? And we got a whole bunch of answers, and then now we're ending this series with the question, what happened to the Zillo Beast and the Bad Batch?
Yeah. It didn't feel super unearned to me, to be honest. Like it definitely like was a little bit out of the blue when your last episode, I think was it Lightning, what's that episode called?
Flash Strike.
Yeah, Flash Strike. Like, oh my gosh, there's a Zillo Beast here. Like, there. What other untold horrors lurk beneath the surface of the mountain in the bowels of Tantus Base? Like, that's kind of the point. Like, I don't mind that personally.
Yeah, that was something I was a little surprised we didn't see. I'm surprised we didn't get other untold horrors released in this phase.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what else? Like, Zillo Beast wasn't the only thing they were working on. Just like the kids wasn't the only thing they were working on.
Yeah.
Like, Tantus was obviously Tantus is not as people who are fans of this Revolver know, Mount Tantus and the planet of Wayland is not a Corbett or Filoni creation. Mount Tantus and the planet Wayland were created by Timothy Zahn for Heir to the Empire in 1991. And in the Legends continuity, it was also used for cloning. It was used for cloning Joruus C'baoth into Joruus C'baoth, and Luke Skywalker into Luke Skywalker. And I'm joking about neither of those things.
As much as I love the EU, some things can stay in the EU. Like Luke Skywalker. Yeah. But I love that they brought back Wayland for this, because it's like thematically, content-wise, perfect.
Yeah, no, they utilized it perfectly. But what did I say? But yeah, I was just to say that I'm a little surprised that we didn't get to see anything else that was in there. Because
me too.
There's other stuff.
That's always been like my biggest frustration with the Bad Batch, is that they always tease us about what untold horrors, what crazy stuff, like last season on was it Bora Vito, we had the whole Boravio, we had the whole thing with what's her name, bounty hunter, I'm blanking on her name.
Fennec Shan.
Yeah, Fennec Shan takes Omega to Boravio. We get those vats, and there's so many moments like that where I'm just like, tell us more. Like, you're holding out on us, and for it to get like as much as I love this episode, for us to come through 3 whole seasons without ever like truly plumbing the depth of really what has sort of been and hinted at and teased with this kind of whole cloning rabbit hole, like that's kind of disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I really wish that they had
that might surprise the longtime listeners of this show. I completely agree. I seriously, like,
yeah.
I like thematically and all with all the tonal stuff, with all the story structure stuff. I think this episode ended the show about as perfectly as he could.
Yeah.
But on those like the lore, like the mysteries that need to be unwrapped, I do feel a little unsatisfied.
Yeah, it's the lore junkie in me that's just like, come on.
Absolutely. And I'm not.
Give it to me.
They didn't need to tell us all of them, but like at least just one of them.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a big and Eli, me, like I'm a big proponent of kind of the power of the unknown and the power of the audience's imagination to really be an effective storyteller, as much as actually showing everything off.
But also,
but at some point, like 3 whole seasons, even holding out on us, like, that's probably my only gripe with this episode, is just like all this stuff, man. Like, please, just
absolutely.
Show us something.
If we get answers in the future, great. I think that will probably improve my viewing of this episode, which is already, spoiler, this is my favorite episode of the season.
Oh yeah, me too.
Not even
Big
close.
Time. Easy.
Not close, but like, I mean, like there are great episodes. Don't get me wrong, but like this one is. But yeah, I do think as well. Speaking of like other revelations, I was like, I expected that, and I remember expecting this for the season 1 finale as well. With the Bad Batch, I was surprised nobody else joined them. I was surprised there was no Deus Ex Machina like character appearance, like an Ahsoka or even a Rex. Even though that would be, of course, because Rex is the main character of the show, that would have been a tiny bit obvious. But whatever. But they didn't do that, and I think that is a bold decision. But I ultimately think that is a very good decision, because this like we with Infiltration Extraction, we did sort of, at least for this show, resolve that Rex plotline as much as we can for this show. The finale of this show, called The Bad Batch and featuring the main characters of The Bad Batch, the final episode of the show should be about the characters in, surprise, surprise, The Bad Batch.
No, I agree. It was perfect that they didn't bring anyone in. There was no sudden cameo, sudden appearance. Though, I wish that they had. I wish that we'd gotten more out of Ventress earlier in the season, but for right now, it was perfect.
That's
just
another thing actually that I reacted to. I'm just looking back at our group chat. I'm looking at, after I said I'm just so glad Omega's okay. My next note was also Ventress who. Like, nothing ever came of that.
Yup.
Which I both love and hate. Same time. I love because I didn't love the direction they were going with Ventress in the Harbinger anyway, and I hate because why the hell did you put her in there in the first place?
Yeah.
But yeah, I also, by the way, the Zillo Beast, by the way, is, and this I think helped me appreciate the Zillo Beast even more, actually, in this episode. Not that I didn't appreciate it before, but I think if you think about the Zillo Beast, as I do, as the Purrgil of the Bad Batch, that's what it is. It's the Purrgil of the Bad Batch. It's introduced in the second season, just like the Purrgil.
Yeah.
It's just, a cool creature that you can manipulate and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're just being manipulated by other forces and has this special power. Purrgil's traveling through hyperspace. Zillo Beast being fucking Zillo Beasts and being indestructible. And then it's tossed like as a side episode. Oh, no need to worry about that. And then it comes back at the last second to aid our heroes in the time of need. But you can't say it wasn't built up to, because they spent an entire fucking episode. You just weren't paying attention. And I really love I love Zillo as the Purrgil of this. And I also there's also a great moment in the episode, which is another one I love, which is when Echo realizes what happened. Omega, she released the Zillo.
Yes.
Emerie asks, how do you know that? Because it's exactly what I do.
And then the rest of the batch, they do the same thing. Wait, the Zillo's free, and then they all look at each other and they go, Omega.
It's Crosshair
Omega did it.
Echo or Omega. And
yeah,
at the same time,
yes,
Omega.
Yes.
And
the
fact that both of them know it at the same time. Yeah, that's it. Which is like that the Zillo Beast moment. Honestly, like people act not people act like we may think at first that the climactic moment of this episode is Crosshair shooting binders.
Yeah. With
that arc, and that's not and that thought isn't wrong, but equally as climactic a moment is Omega releasing the Beast.
Yeah, I feel like just for Omega's story and Omega's journey, through these 3 seasons, just as kind of a cherry on top, a symbol, a moment to kind of encapsulate her coming into her own, all of her big brothers, that for so long she's been convincing, pretty much it's always pretty much, Omega being like, oh, let me come with you, I can do this, please, let me come with you, let me put it on the line with you guys, and now she's going out there being an absolute, badass, releasing the Zillo Beast.
Metamorphosis, which is the first episode that the Zillo Beast is featured in. When Omega hears about what happened with one escaped Zillo Beast on a cruiser it was on, and then it ate the crew that was on board, she cuddles up to Wrecker and goes, "It ate the crew?" Like any normal child would.
Yeah.
1 season later, burn baby, burn motherfucker. Releases that shit out into the wild without a care in the world. That's character growth right there.
And also just like she now has her signature thing to the point where like the batch they just see like, oh, it's Zillo Beast. They all know, oh, it's Omega.
Yeah.
Of course it's Omega. Like it's one thing Echo saying like, I would have done the same thing. That's obviously Omega. That's a wonderful moment. That's wonderful. But then to have her close nuclear family, the batch, as she's going everywhere with go, not Echo, Omega. It was Omega, and then being right. Oh, it's beautiful. But I want to rewind a little bit. I don't want to get too far ahead. I want to talk about Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, their conversation in the or I guess we're not rewinding actually. That I got it over, but that conversation in the jungle.
Yes,
that's right there at the heart of this episode.
I was just about to jump to that. Important. Where the line I wrote down was Clone Force 99 died with tech. We're not that squad anymore.
Yeah, and then the follow up. If we all go in, we're not all making it out. I wrote that down too because that is very memorable, and it kind of sits at the crux of this episode.
I wrote that quote down in 2, and the note I wrote next to it just says, "Well."
Yeah, he was wrong. Thank goodness he was wrong. But
yeah,
I mean, look, they're in crisis. This is one of the lowest, maybe since the death of Tech at the end of season 2. This might be the lowest we've kind of seen the batch or this subset of the batch. Hunter's badly wounded. Crosshair's hand tremor is worse than ever.
Wrecker's fucking out.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah, Wrecker's out. He's badly injured. Hunter, he's got his own stuff. He's got his own stuff going on. After so much, so much glory, so many close calls, so much blood, sweat, tears, and loss and heartbreak, Crosshair is kind of realizing that their very best might not be enough to save Omega.
Well, that's the thing, which is so Crosshair. A lot of this arc, I feel like it's a lot of his arc this season has been getting over his own failure to see what the Batch saw, and like finding faith again within himself to be like, no, I belong here, and I made a mistake, and that needs to be acknowledged, of course. But I eventually saw the light, and I'm now coming to do the right things and right my wrongs. And now we have the final point of this arc, which is like which is the whole like group aspect of this, which is like, yeah, ever since Tech died, ever since and really I think Crosshair really is ever since we split up. Although probably not, because he probably saw how good the Batch was without him, probably fueling a lot of his emotional turmoil over that. But like the idea that Clone Trek, like that the glory days are over. That that even his original purpose, which he has rediscovered again with his squad, his brothers, even that is coming to an end. Crosshair is fearing his own obsolescence, and what I think is so powerful is that the answer to the solution of what makes Crosshair, and this is not directly stated, but I do think this is true. The reason that Crosshair's fears are alleviated is actually not there with them at that moment. The reason that Crosshair is wrong is very simple.
What is it, in your opinion?
It's Omega. Omega believes in the legend of the Bad Batch, so the Bad Batch legend lives on.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think this was also something Alden was telling me he saw in like some wrestling thing where it was in like some wrestling match, and it was the line, they believe because he believes. And again, I don't know what the context was of that, but like I really do believe that the Bad Batch won't die anytime soon because Omega is still the biggest Bad Batch fan in the world. So much that she had to create her own Bad Batch.
Yeah, or the mini Bad Batch.
Yeah,
the good batch.
Yeah, the what am I gonna say? The legend the legend of Bad Batch the Bad Batch continues because their youngest member insists it does.
Yeah,
I think it's
in a sense.
Yeah, and then of course we got Hemlock decides, okay. Panic starts like not visibly, but clearly panicking. He's starting to unravel. Break glass in case of emergency option, which is just Clone X, but like more of them.
A whole bunch more shadow clones, operatives, as he calls them, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, and
whole bunch more of them.
I do feel like it was a little underwhelming to me. Like,
yeah,
I feel like they were getting ready for a big reveal, and they just decided, okay, so what if we did what we did before? But just like multiplied by 5.
Like I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe it's gonna be like, are we gonna get like some is it gonna relate to the Dark Troopers? What's it gonna be? And then more shadow clones.
The big people were thinking. The big thing that people were thinking, actually, there was a popular theory going around at the time, is that what's going to be the ultimate weapon used against the Bad Batch? The Bad Batch. The Clone X or Y, Clone Y or Z lifts up his helmet, and underneath is Tech.
Oh my! Wait, can you imagine?
That would
be unbelievable.
I didn't want it to happen, but that was seriously being considered by people. That the Empire rescued him from the crash and converted him into one of their, fucking super soldiers. I'm glad they didn't go down that route, because I also believe that death had really should mean something.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was something that I know a lot of people, including friends of the show, were thinking.
That would have been an insane twist. I can see why they were thinking about it. I do.
But I am ultimately glad that they didn't go that direction, even if this ending does feel kind of underwhelming. Even if this revelation does kind of feel underwhelming. Yeah, the batch, we have this like huge battle at the end of which, of course, Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair got captured, but like, I don't know, like there was like just so much energy within this final battle. You could really feel, I feel like this was one of the most desperate battles I feel like I've seen fought in the show, because
the desperation was palpable. It was amazing.
Because you could feel that that Hunter and Wrecker and Crosshair were mowing down every clone like they meant it. You know, there was a real sense of urgency in this. And then of course absolutely. Crosshair becomes a Skywalker, which, you know, who among us hasn't become a Skywalker, and loses the hand. One of my favorite jokes about that it will still be when Mark Hamill did a charity surprise appearance for, I believe it was Omaze, in honor, like in promotion for The Last Jedi, and when there was like some woman pretending to be Rey handing the saber to him like in The Force Awakens, and he turns around and he goes, "There was a hand too. Did you bring the hand?" But yeah, Crosshair loses his hand, which I also say kind of unexpected to me. Did not expect that. But I also really like this as well, because I described this as, with a metaphor I think you will like, Jacob. I think this is Crosshair's fire across the galaxy moment.
Possibly. This is quite possible.
Look, you've been having trouble with the Tremor all season. Okay, let's take this fucking hand off anyway. Now that you've lost the one thing you were so afraid to lose, and you can function without it, there's nothing left for you to lose. There's nothing left for, let's say, you to fear.
The fact that
as Kanan says in that episode, you know,
yeah, I mean,
Ezra's supposed death unlocked in Kanan. You know, now I have nothing left to fear, and that's how he's able to go God mode on the Inquisitor. And I mean, I do believe that that's how Crosshair was able to make that shot.
Yeah, part of it is just like how in the world does he still like fight and shoot blasters, you know, to say nothing of just like, let alone just stand up and walk around and function. He just got his freaking hand chopped off. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like that's gnarly. That's some gnarly stuff right there.
I'd like to get us to this point, which is, I feel like, turning point of the episode, which I love actually, which is what they set out to do. Like, Omega could have gone with Emerie and the kids. Mission accomplished. The episode ends there. Batch maybe meet a more horrific fate. I don't know. Maybe Echo rescues them. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it can't end there. Omega goes back into harm's way because she cares that much.
Yeah. It is pretty incredible.
That is the most staggering moment of that episode to me. Is that she voluntarily decides, no, I'm going to go back into harm's way because my brothers need me.
I mean, that's the Omega that we know. That's who she.
Yeah, and of course the fact that Omega and Echo implicitly now trust Emerie. Like, they didn't know what Emerie was going to do. They thought they knew, and luckily she did that. But like, they didn't know for sure. But they trusted her, and Omega's like super powerful empathy, did that. Yeah.
Also just the desperation of like, they have to trust Emerie. Like, they don't really have a choice at this point. Like, they need anything they can get,
Yeah. I will also say that, of course, we have the final thread of the show, which is the Bad Batch potentially becoming forcibly Imperial operatives. Which I know, actually, a friend of the show, Chris Ryans from Broaxium, always believed that the Bad Batch were going to turn into the Imperial Stars because they had similar designs. And while it didn't happen, it totally could have. those Sergeant Creel and all the other stormtroopers with lightsabers, they're different people, but it could have. I think I told you last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a moment from the finale, from the series finale, that Jennifer Corbett had said on Twitter, like, this was one of my favorite moments of the show, just thanks to somebody's line delivery. If I could have a moment from this show framed, like, I would have this moment.
Yeah.
Because she teased us with that before the finale. And then she revealed the moment after the finale released. And the moment was of Hemlock when he's monologuing to Batch in there. And he's like, and he says something like, I don't know how it starts, but he's like, I may not have Omega or the data, the science, or whatever anymore. And the line she chose was, "But I still have you."
Yep.
And the way Jimmy Simpson says, "But I still have you," is damn sinister. I think the lighting around Hemlock is fucking fantastic. Like there's this one. I was gonna say I was just thinking about, yeah. Oh yeah, there's one shot of Hemlock where his face is fully like lit with red light, almost making him look satanic.
Yeah.
Like
really
you can't get more obvious than that.
Dark Hemlock. It's Dark Hemlock.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dark Hemlock, best friend of Dark Brandon. I gotta tell you, Jack, the Kaminoans are doing some real fishy stuff over here, Jack. I gotta tell you, folks, it's America. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Hemlock, can we talk about that moment? Can we talk about Hemlock and his hollow conference FaceTime with Tarkin?
Yeah.
For a moment, because it's such a small moment. I'm trying to find it in my notes. It's such a small moment, and yet it's so beautifully done. The way you have, Tarkin, as always, ever the hater, ever
Tarkin's just bitchy, and
ever preying on the downfall of Hemlock and whoever else.
I also think there's also just like this great annoyance and even maybe a little jealousy of Hemlock, because he's at a higher ranking, but he doesn't get to know what Hemlock's doing.
Yeah, like he definitely he's 100% jealous. Also,
and I'm not convinced he ever knew what Hemlock was doing, even as he orally bombarded it. The one person's reaction to this episode who I would have loved to see is actually the Emperor's, because he knew what they were doing, and he knew what they were doing it for. So I'm just imagining like a call with Vader, or not Vader, maybe with like one of his trusted advisors, like Sly Moore or somebody, in the vein of the Robot Chicken. They blew up the Death Star, and they're like, so wait, he's like, so a bunch of clones, who should have gotten the Order 66 but didn't, broke in to rescue a girl, and that's why I don't have Kaminoan clones for me after I die.
They blew up my what?
About? What are you fucking? And the what the fuck does the Zillo beast have to do with that? We took care of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
this is why I cannot have anybody other than myself running these fucking projects. That's what you guys do. You mess this shit up. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and just the way that Hemlock, the way that we see it, he's coming in, and like we just see the facade start to crack. Like he's started. He has this ragged kind of desperation, this madness in his voice. Like, I have everything under, and then he's slow. You see him like within that sentence, he just calms down. He's like, under control. I have everything under control, and like that's just such a nice detail, such a good moment of kind of we see Hemlock. Just right at the end, he finally starts to slip. He finally starts to break.
And it's glorious to see. And then, though way smaller than I think both of us expected it to, let's give them credit. We did get our clone revolt. We did it. It was with
We
the
did get our
prisoners,
clone revolt.
but it still counts. That was a clone revolt, and
Better
this one
late than
actually
never.
went decently well, actually, because my thought was always that, oh, there's going to be a clone revolt and it's going to get fucking crushed. No, this one went over fine. I'm not saying people didn't die; they did, but you know, mission accomplished, sort of. And then of course we get the stuff with Nala and Rampart, which we talked about all that. I just have to just rant for a few more seconds with the quote. This has been very enlightening. Yes, Rampart. What has been very enlightening?
Yeah, tell us.
Tell us.
Say it out loud, please.
What is it?
Say it loud.
What is Project Necromancer?
Oh,
we can put the clues together. Just say the damn thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's madness. It's absolute madness.
Oh yeah, no, I found the line from earlier where Omega says, "You failed too. Your data's gone," and Hemlock says, "But I still have you," which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we have the comeback to that. You're forgetting one thing. I have them.
And then Wrecker goes. This is I would say this is, vintage classic Wrecker, but this is more than that. Like, this is Wrecker as we've never seen him before. He literally throws a dude through a wall. Like, this version of Wrecker is just unbelievable. And he just starts screaming. He's like, ah! He gets a giant piece of metal and just runs forward. Oh my gosh.
That moment with the predecessing line of Hemlock saying a glaring weakness in clones is their loyalty to one another, along with Echo's speech to the pre-clone prisoners, while the Kiner's clone theme plays softly on that goddamn French horn in the background. This is why I do what I do. Those two moments, this is why I fucking do it. Those are the this is why animated Star Wars is animated Star Wars. Just see one final last push by these clones who, we don't know what these prisoners have gone through. But one last, what, as Rex says in the last battle in Rebels, one last grand glorious day in the Grand Army of the Republic.
Yeah,
they're fighting for what matters, and not because they're being forced to, but because they choose to.
Yeah, I mean, the entire sequence in the training room is so metal. It's so hardcore for Star Wars animation. I don't even know really where to begin or what to say about it. The entire thing was a trap by Hemlock. They all get in there. He releases poison gas into the room. All the clones get knocked out except Echo, who is the TK.
Because remember, he's Dr. Hemlock, and Hemlock means poison, and so that Hemlock, he's immune to poison because he built up. He is the
He is the yeah. Like, Hemlock grabs him, or Hemlock comes in. I love Star Wars, but
it's so incredibly unsubtle about things sometimes.
Yeah, whenever that gas comes out, you're just like, oh, come on, man. Oh my gosh. Like, it's just, I mean, but the entire sequence, this is maybe one of the best animated fight scenes without lightsabers aside, legendary lightsaber duels aside.
And the Force. Let's put the Force aside too. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Force. This might be my very favorite animated fight scene we've ever seen in Star Wars. This entire, not even just this one scene, the sequence was just amazing. It was so tense, and like you said, like the desperation with which the batch, was fighting, even once Hunter and Crosshair wake up too, and they free themselves. It's an absolute thing of beauty. It's an absolute thing of beauty.
And then obviously we have that shot. We have the sequence on the bridge, all that kind of stuff. The tension builds up and up and up, and then Crosshair makes the shot.
Oh my gosh.
And here's my thesis about that moment. And I know, I've played this song before. I understand I've said something like this before, but fuck it, I still believe it. Crosshair didn't just make that shot because he made that shot. Like, it wasn't luck. In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. Do I think the Force guided that shot? Yes, I do. Yes, 100% I do. Do I think that was will of the Force? Do I think that was destiny? Yeah, I do think that was destiny. I'm not trying to denigrate Crosshair's shooting skills, just like I would never try to denigrate anybody else's. Like I think Han is a great pilot, but I also think some of his craziest maneuvers were probably guided by the Force, just because he was unintentionally, tapping into, trusting your instincts, being in balance with yourself, all that kind of stuff. That cues you into being with the Force, which we know is an energy field created by all living things, even if some can tap into it more.
Yeah. That's an interesting take.
That shot was in some small way guided by the Force. I do.
Fair enough. That's an interesting take, but this might be the best sequence of the show ever. But beyond that, we catch up with Hunter and Crosshair, who chase Hemlock up to this, which, by the way, amazing animation throughout this episode. Like the rain,
gorgeous.
The trees, it looks more beautiful. It looks more gorgeous than it's ever looked. It looks better than it's ever looked. They chase Hemlock up to this crazy sky bridge to the landing platform, and we're about to leave, and then boom, the ship gets shot down, which, by the way, Crosshair didn't get the shot on the ship last time. He got the shot on the ship this time, because that was the same ship, I think. It was the Clone X.
That's
it
great.
was Clone X's sort of, ship, which I also like. It looks like sort of a hybrid between, Darth Maul's scimitar and maybe one of Padme's the Naboo cruiser that Padme uses to go to Geonosis. I like how they kind of take the designs and use like the evolution.
Yeah,
you kind of use the evolution of them. It's very nice. But sorry, me being a ship nerd aside, it's such an amazing culminating moment, especially as a microcosm of the story. When Crosshair says, "I can't make the shot," like he's finally admitting, like, I'm not who I was. Just like early in the episode, he's saying point blank, look, I don't think I can do it. I'm not who I was, last season, two seasons ago, back during the Clone Wars, during the glory days. And it's Hunter telling him to trust Omega. He says Omega knows what to do. She's going to do the right thing. She's going to get us a shot. And that is amazing, because for so long, Hunter is trying. We see Hunter in protective dad mode. This is like one of the greatest examples, one of the first examples and one of the greatest examples of him just fully going into trust Omega mode. And that really means that she's truly, she really and truly unequivocally is not just one of the crew and one of the Bad Batch, but fully part of, you could say in a sense, what's left of Clone Force 99. To the point where he trusts her in that way. It's such a beautiful moment, and it just such an amazing way to end this story, and to end everything, to end all the threats and the menace of Hemlock. It's such an incredible way to tie it up, and just the meaning that's packed into those lines in that moment where he says, "I trust Omega, she'll get us the shot." It's beautiful. So beautiful.
But I also I think that moment also plays into my Force idea, just because it's the Luke and Yoda on Dagobah. What you ask what you ask me to do, lift the X-wing out of the swamp, is impossible. And Yoda's basically yeah, sure, it's impossible. Yeah, because you've figured out, because you've told yourself it's impossible.
Yeah,
nothing is impossible. You got to open it happens because Crosshair does it. Plain and simple. He trusts his instincts. He uses the Force. It's his. I feel like it's his version of Death Star, honestly. The shot couldn't have been made until it was made. Yeah, and then we get that great moment. Omega hugging Crosshair first, and then Hunter theme blaring in the background. Dun 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 dun.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Fucking
there's kind of a sense of disbelief when you're like, wait, we're finally, they finally did it. Hemlock is dead, Rampart is dead, the data is destroyed, Nala Se is dead, no one can continue this research, and here they are together again. It's almost surreal. It's almost surreal.
I want to talk to you about this now, just because about our ending.
Okay.
Because, and here's why. The reason why is because we got a little peek behind the scenes, sort of. But yeah, here it is. So, in an interview with some Star Wars creators and YouTubers and podcasters and what have you, they got a chance when the third season was coming out to interview, but before the finale, to interview Michelle Ong, who voiced Omega.
Yeah. What did she have to say?
Here's the quote: "Audiences haven't seen the finale of season 3 yet, and there were slightly. It says they were, but I think that's a typo. I think it's supposed to say there were slightly different ways of the show ending. We weren't set on exactly how it was going to end. There was some sort of exploration, but as an actor, an emotional moment was the ending we landed on. It was like the culmination of my journey as a performer, and Omega's journey as a character, all consolidated into 2 lines." And yeah, interestingly, there's another quote: "Omega was set up with the possibility of a very large future in the Star Wars galaxy, and then it changed from there." And described the quote new ending as bittersweet, which I think is a very precise and good way of matching it. And there were 2 ideas I had, but actually through rereading the quotes, even now, I can actually rule out one of them. There is in my mind, I do think that there was a different ending to this that they, I think, decided to backpedal on, and I think ultimately was a good choice.
What do you think that was?
I think this is why I don't like The Harbinger. I think The Harbinger was set up for a series finale that didn't happen.
Can you explain what you mean by that? I'm not sure I understand what you're getting at here.
I mean,
I'm intrigued though.
Episode happens the same. They get back to Pabu. Ventress is there, takes Omega as her apprentice in whatever way. And then Omega, like we do the Force sensitive, we do play into that. We do a clone Jedi. We like that opens more possibilities.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yeah. I'm very glad they didn't. But yeah, and again, just I don't know anything. I don't like this is all just my pure, complete speculation. But judging on the Harbinger, which I still think the Harbinger works now, but like that seemed to be set up of, okay, this path could be open to you. Now the answer to that they chose was, well, yeah, it could not be too. You can ultimately choose.
Yeah.
But I do think that was. I wonder if that. I have to wonder if that was being considered. And because it makes sense, like with her having like a more important role to play, yeah, because she's a fucking Jedi in the Dark Times. That's a huge role to play. Just like ask Cal Kestis, ask Kanan Jarrus, ask Ezra Bridger, ask Ahsoka. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that just because I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
we have that really cool detail at the end where the batch leaves and then immediately the Empire comes in, which I love.
Yeah, I think we get that, and I mean,
and of course we get to see. I think this is the first time we've seen Imperial Star Destroyers.
Yeah,
in this show, which I think is cool. I will just say, and this might just be me, but like, why were there still TK troopers in this show? Why couldn't we have just gotten stormtroopers? Like, why couldn't we have seen the evolution for clones? Like, why couldn't we have had that complete? It doesn't matter, but to me, it does a little bit.
I don't know. I guess it's just. I mean, years wise, what year BBY do we think this takes place in? Do we know for sure?
This is probably 18 or 17.
18 or 17. So, I mean, the Empire's only been around for 1 to 2 years then.
Yeah, but we know that
2.5 years.
That by Jedi Fallen Order, which is 2 to 3 years later, all converted.
This is 15. That makes sense, though. I mean, 2 years
No,
into
it's
the Empire
14.
versus
It's 14. It's 14.
14. Okay, so 2 years versus like 6 years into the Empire. I understand that. Like,
yeah,
look,
I just wish I
some
could
of
have
this
seen
stuff,
the fullness of the transition.
I agree with you. It would have been cool, but some of this stuff is a little suspend disbelief, and this is far from the biggest culprit in that regards, I would say. So personally, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. It's just a nitpick of mine, but yeah. And then we have Tarkin coming in. Hemlock's failings have cost enough. Shutter this facility indefinitely and redistribute all funding to Project Stardust, which is also
kind of. It's also kind of crazy because this is years and years and years and years before he kind of takes over Project Stardust. So we have to wonder: does he? Does he kind of have an eye towards the future of?
I think he does. I think he knows. I think that Krennic, the entire time that Krennic was running it, I think Krennic was on borrowed time. I think Krennic was honestly lucky to head it up as long as he did. I really do believe that. But what I also really appreciate about this is that we have this failed endeavor by the Empire of this fucking crazy clone thing, and all the money, and they get shut down. And all the money and resources get transferred to ultimately another failed endeavor.
Yep. Bit more successful, but ultimately not that much more successful.
Yeah, no, but one planet destroyed, and then it itself gets destroyed, and Tarkin along fucking with it.
Yeah.
That is the most poetic thing about the show, which is that we know, and that's actually, I think, maybe the magic of this, the end of the show. The Bad Batch don't know, and the Empire, of course, doesn't know. But we know that the Empire's time is running out.
Yeah, ultimately it is,
and we can see the full picture. But of course, the Bad Batch can't because they have no idea what's going to happen. But they do have that other thing that I was talking about last episode. They have. What is it? Damn it! That's what I love most about this show's ending. This show. If we're looking at what I love about the show as tonally speaking, is it really is a tonal transition from Star Wars: The Clone Wars to Star Wars Rebels. It's not that everything is great by the time of Rebels, but the Rebels at the very beginning, Harris says this few episodes into the show, we have hope things will get better, and they will.
Yeah.
How do you go from Helmet in the Snow to that? Bad Batch is how you go from Helmet in the Snow to that.
That is a very good point. That is a very good point.
And I freaking love that. Yeah.
I don't know what else.
Yeah.
I mean,
Omega's safe, and they're all safe, and they're all happy, and they all get to do what they want to do forever. Echo and Emerie are going to Pantora to help get some of the clones settled, which, god damn it, we need that show yesterday. Just a few episodes, make it Tales of the Clones. Just give us a few episodes, two shorts about how that goes and stuff like that, and any complications. I still want to see the story that gets Rex back together with Wolf, and he and Gregor and Wolf go, and they go Jupa hunting on Sealos, and until we find them in the Lost Commanders and Star Wars Rebels. We're still in need of that story. I'm not giving up hope for it, but yeah, everything is okay.
Yeah.
At the end. And then we have our epilogue, which takes place an unspecified amount of time later.
It seems like maybe, how old is Omega at the end of season 3?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even relevant. I would assume at least.
So.
I would assume maybe 10, 12 years later. Because she's talking about maybe later.
It's more. It's more than that.
She's talking about the rebellion as a collective, which doesn't come about until season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, which is
2 BBY.
2 BBY.
2 BBY.
So presumably,
Wikipedia lists this.
10.
Wikipedia lists the epilogue as taking place in between 2 BBY and 4 ABY. I have 2 of my best guesses. Here are my 2 best guesses. Number 1, this takes place right after Secret Cargo. in Rebels, the official declaration of rebellion by Mon Mothma in the Dantooine system.
I would guess a little bit later, given that she's just saying the rebellion needs pilots, and she's not saying like, oh, there's like the rebellion has formed, sort of, you know?
Well,
like it seems
maybe they heard reports of it. Maybe they heard reports of it earlier and stuff like that. Like they knew Rex, and Rex was already with the Phoenix crew.
That's a good point. Like, yeah, that is a possibility.
Or my second option is, because I don't think it happens like I don't think it happens like around the time of Empire. What I do think is the other possibility is that it happens 0 ABY, that it's in the wake of the first Death Star's destruction. The rebellion needs pilots now more than ever. They got a target on their back because they just did the impossible. And so they need pilots, and I'm going to go join them. Either way, it doesn't really matter, but my two best guesses are those two. So 2 ABY just after the Goran massacre and the declaration of rebellion over Dantooine, or 0 ABY just after the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the first Death Star.
Yeah. 3 ABY as well. If we're talking about that window, like after Empire Strikes Back, after the Battle of Hoth, that's a time when the rebellion is deeply in need, you know, as desperate as they've ever been.
I just can't really imagine Omega and Hunter and like all them standing by for that long. I mean, look, if it gets confirmed any which way, like if it gets confirmed any which way, I will obviously, of course, like be fine with it. But like, you know, it's.
One other thing that I found a little funny about that final epilogue, as wonderful as it was. Eli, move your head a little bit to your move it to your right. Yeah. Let's take a look at Hunter.
Yeah.
He doesn't look a day older than when we see him in 17, 18 BBY. You know, he's a little beardier, and he's got a nice new headband, and he looks exactly the same. It's a very small gripe, but sometimes
and Omega looks pretty damn similar too as well.
I think we know by now, especially with Bo-Katan and people age funny. Bo-Katan, Obi-Wan Kenobi, that kind of viral comparison that goes around. People age funny in Star Wars. That's a given.
Like the aging thing often for me is like whenever Neil deGrasse Tyson goes on one of his rants about, Star Wars got this wrong. In actual space, there wouldn't be sound for the laser streaming. I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah, it's kind of like true, but
you're right. But you're just like,
roll with it. Roll with it.
That's not the point. You're missing the point of why we fucking tell these stories. We don't tell these stories to make fucking accuracy. We tell the story, and then I can go off my little rants. But but the rebellion needs pilots now more than ever. Again, let's see Omega in the rebellion. I know Alden has brought up to me adult Hera and adult Omega reuniting. That would be a very real possibility, especially because we know Hera's alive at least until the events of Ahsoka and probably way later. I also just have to mention, and this is my little gripe about the show, but I have a personal attachment to this whole idea, and you'll see why very shortly. I'm just saying, there's another unaltered clone of Jango Fett just roaming around the galaxy.
I really thought earlier on in the Bad Batch, season 1, I really thought that Omega was going to meet Boba Fett.
It's just so strange to me that it never happened.
It makes sense. It doesn't feel missing or anything.
Quick plug.
But there was a time when it did feel very inevitable to me.
Quick plug. If y'all want to see what an Omega and Boba Fett reunion might look like, go to Archive of Our Own. On my Archive of Our Own account, I published at the beginning of this year my overall story treatment for what I would do for a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. And the very first decision I made instantly was, we need Omega to be. We need Omega to come to Tatooine. Fun fact, I actually wrote the Bad Batch season 3 ending before it happened because I needed to figure out where the Bad Batch would be, to figure out where Omega wouldn't be with them. And I actually, ironically, I created at the time what I thought was an optimistic ending for the show. It turned out to be worse than what actually happened.
Mm.
In my ending, Emerie died, Crosshair died, Wrecker died, and Echo died. And Hunter, only Hunter and Omega made it out, which I thought at the time.
Louise. You thought that was optimistic?
Yes, I did. I thought there was a decent chance that none of them were going to make it out besides Omega. At the time. I thought it was going to be brutal.
It could have been. I can't imagine the show going that far. Like I thought, we might get one more death.
But anyway, just if I can quick plug, we'll put that down in the description. Very satisfied with how that turned out. But there's a whole subplot where Boba Fett decolonizes Tatooine, which I think is cool, as well as basically me getting to rewrite the entirety of the Star Wars Bounty Hunter video game into canon because of
featuring a certain Zam Wessel, perchance.
Of course, yeah. And there's that one time in an episode where an assassin with a wrinkly orange face goes to attack Boba Fett. Because if you thought I wouldn't put Ochi a fucking best student in this script, you're absolutely wrong.
Oh my god.
He doesn't do it much. He literally goes in and gets his ass kicked by Kersan, and that's it. But yeah, we have that final line. We have that, "You're our kid, Omega. You always will be." Which, God. And her going off in the ship, taking Tech's glasses with her as a reminder of all she's lost and all that she's gone through to come to this moment. Omega's theme blaring in the background. And we end this show.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Jacob and I have both hinted to it before. This is my favorite episode of the season. This is probably one of my, if I had to make a top 10 ranking of my favorite episodes of this show, probably be in there. Would probably even make my top 5. I really love what this series did, this series finale did, and even though some more lore answers would have been nice, I can easily forgive that because the emotional conclusion, the why of Star Wars was handled so deftly and so elegantly that I can really easily forgive the other stuff. Plus, we might get that later. That is not, and that is less stuff like if writers like Corbett and Munoz and Rao and all those people want to deal with that stuff, they can. But those are really for people like Pablo Hidalgo. Like that, those details are like we're really about like those are visual dictionary details. Jacob and I are huge fans of those, so that's why we've gotten a bit uppity about that. But like, we understand that there's a hierarchy for these things.
Ultimately, yeah. What are your overall thoughts? I guess we've kind of. I will just say,
go ahead, yeah.
With an eye towards the entire show and this episode, I'm kind of a little speechless thinking back on all this show, now, and really looking at this episode, the entirety of the show, the entirety of Clone Force 99 in Star Wars as a whole. And I think I can sum that up in two phrases. Number one, I'm sorry. I don't know how many times I've apologized to this show. I've apologized to, the Bad Batch as a concept, to all the writers behind this. When I heard that this show was going to come out after seeing season 7 of the Clone Wars, even at the beginning of season 1, I was not a believer. I was not a believer at all. I was like, there is no way that these characters are going to work with their own show. Oh my gosh, was I wrong. Number 2, thank you. I'm really grateful that we got this show. I'm really, really grateful that we got this show. Because I think for a lot of people, it was unexpectedly delightful, is how I would that's how I would characterize it. So I'm very, very happy. I'm very happy that we got to go on this journey, and it's hitting me right now that it's coming to an end, and I'm
to quote Shaquille O'Neal. Oh. I apologize. I owe you an apology.
I wasn't really familiar with your game.
Yep, there you go. I was not familiar with the Bad Batch's game, but here we are. And man, this show, it definitely had its moments where, you know, it wasn't the strongest. You know, I kind of questioned, you know, where they were going, why the decisions were being made the way they were. But really, all in all, we got a lot of beautiful moments and some really amazing journeys out of this show.
Yeah.
And that's really what matters. And
we'll discuss that more in future episodes. But for now, this has been quite a long one. And Jacob actually,
oh my gosh,
Jacob
yeah.
and I are actually
justifiably so, though. Justifiably
so. And Jacob and I actually have another one to record today, which will be significantly shorter. Jacob, I swear this one will be significantly shorter.
It will be.
But that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, or this week, we're recording it this week, but it'll come out next week. We are going to be doing our retrospective episode on season 3 of the Bad Batch. However, this is not going to be the season finale of season 19 of Star Wars in the Galaxy, because we have to do a retrospective on the whole damn show as well. So next week will be our second to last episode of the season. We're going to do it our normal retrospective format with the rankings, with all the stuff, with all the stuff we do. And yeah, make sure to you can listen to us obviously on all the platforms. Follow us everywhere at In a Galaxy Pod. I'm trying to use Blue Sky and Threads more because Twitter is becoming worse with every fucking day. We'll see how that goes.
Yes, Twitter, finally. I've been saying this for years.
But anyway, either way. And you can follow me everywhere. My link tree is linktr.ee/_OGFan327. Epic Conversations should be back soon. We're filming a cutscene, I believe, the weekend that this comes out, and we'll finally get that match out that I know we've been delaying for so long, but it'll finally be out. And we have some great stuff coming down the pipeline at Epic Confrontations. And we have some great stuff coming down the pipeline here. We're going to start streaming again very soon. Jake and I are going to start streaming again. We're going to have some fun guests. We're going to do bracket streams. We're very excited to do that. But I think, unless there's anything else, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Always.